if Miami does this on Monday night, they're winning a national championship.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
5 days away from the Natty in Miami, I am Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes. He is Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive lineman and co-host of Locked On Wolfpack. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. Well, we have one more huge game day coming up. On this loaded episode, we'll give you our predictions for the 10-seed Miami Hurricanes against the 1-seed Indiana Hoosiers. Miami an 8.5-point underdog in this one. We'll talk about the matchups, but Kenton Gibbs, I'd like to pick your brain first. If Miami is going to try and hoist national championship number 6, what do they have to do against Indiana? Let's start offense first. Like, what does Miami have to do against that vaunted IU defense?
Protect the ball means protect the brand, okay? What Indiana does better than almost any other team in the nation is take the ball away, which they've done so at such a high clip. It's fed into the cheating narratives because people are like, there's no way that their DBs are always this well prepared. I'm sorry to tell you guys, when you get paid a lot of money to do a thing and you focus on doing that thing really well, the results could be interesting. But even beyond that, you have to protect the ball because when you look at all of the closest games that Indiana has played in the past 2 years, you look at the turnover difference, and in all of those games that have been close, the opposing team has either been within one turnover of them or won the turnover battle outright, or they're even. Mm-hmm. You do not see teams be -2, -3 and have a close game against this team. And this is why I look at that Oregon game when everybody's like, oh, there's no way they got this much better to beat that Oregon team. What the hell cheating could they have done to make Dante Moore push the ball into his running back's shoulder? What did Sid do? Is he paying them? So ultimately, taking care of the ball is what you have to do if you are Miami. To me, there's a second sneaky thing that they also need to do that everybody's going to say it, but nobody wants to really acknowledge the power of it. It's also time of possession. And people don't want to say that because Miami's been so good at it. They're like, well, Miami could dominate time of possession and still lose. BS. If they take care of the ball and they dominate time of possession, this game will be very close at minimum, because that's the style of game that not only Miami wants to play, that's what Indiana doesn't want. Who wants their Heisman winner on the sideline for 8 minutes of gameplay, 12 to 13 minutes of real time every single time that the opposing team gets the ball? Who wants that? So ultimately, those are the two things I see this game coming down to for Miami.
Well, time of possession plays very much into mind because it's a symptom of this. Miami's got to be able to run the football. And, so Indiana comes into this game 15-0. And Kenton, a huge part of that is they only give up an average of 75 rushing yards per game. That's good for second in the nation. Teams, by and large, have run into brick walls trying to run into Indiana. And another part of that is, to be fair to the statistics, because they don't tell the full story, a lot of teams have been down big against Indiana and have abandoned the run because of that. So that plays into it. So I think Miami needs to commit to the running game in this one, Kenton. It's something... Miami has run the football better in the playoffs than they did during the regular season, and that has come, again, this is another great rushing defense, but heard a lot of the same things about Ohio State, had a top rushing defense. Miami had success, over 100 rushing yards. Texas A&M had an excellent rushing defense. Miami had over 170 yards against Texas A&M. I'm not saying Indiana will be easy, but ironically enough, when I go through the closer games that Indiana played this year, Kenton, a lot of people will try to look at, what Ohio State did against them in that 13-10 Big Ten championship game. I also think about back on November 8th, Penn State, without a head coach, nearly pulled off an upset against Indiana, and they had some success running the football to the tune of 117 team rushing yards, and they had some success against the run as well. So I think for Miami, the big blocking up front, and I mentioned earlier this week that, Miami has 331 pounds on average on their O-line compared to 278 on Indiana's D-line. So you need to try to lean on them as much as possible. And Mark Fletcher at 225 pounds, Marty Brown at 230 pounds. Miami's going to try, and again, no guarantees this happens, but they're going to try to wear down Indiana's defense the way that they've done to some others. And then, the other thing, Kenton, that I look at from Indiana's defense, I had a long conversation today with Alfredo Arteaga, who's been analyzing this game. And, they've obviously been so successful. And you talk about the takeaways and, a lot of their five-man rushes. They do gamble a lot on defense. Now, these are educated gambles, right? But a lot of times they guess, and they guess right. So maybe if Miami can get a little bit lucky and they have a five-man rush and Malachi Toney is open, in the slot, if Miami can get a little lucky or kind of counter Indiana's guesses, maybe they can hit a couple big plays.
Let's do some inside baseball, Donno, because I always aim to increase the knowledge base of our viewers here. Not only does Indiana specialize in five-man rushes, there's another thing that they are very elite in that very few teams can do at the same clip. Everybody has in their playbook. Very few execute it the way they do. It's called simulated pressure. What does that mean? Simulated pressure means you're bringing a nickel or a linebacker, but you're dropping a edge rusher most likely in that type of package. Now, here's why they do that so well. Number one, teams have not had very good slot wide receivers that can make a small little nothing into a big play if they're left in a situation where a defensive end is dropping out and rallying. And by the way, that's another thing that helps out Indiana. They have a lot of position versatility. All that lack of size that they have, those guys can move. They can move at a high clip. They can do things in coverage that most bigger guys, a 280-pound edge, probably could not. So they have very good ability to drop and immediately get to their spots and where they're supposed to be. But anybody who knows football at a high level knows the way you beat the blitz is throw where the blitzer was. Now, where is the blitzer coming from in a simulated pressure? 9 times out of 10, it's either very close to or in the box. I think that Mario is going to have to lean on some RPOs that are getting Toney involved and getting the ball in his hands while he has a running start very early, because that could very easily kind of scare Indiana out of what they're good at doing. Now, with that being said, it's always easy to talk about this stuff. It's always easy to say, well, I'm drawing it up on the chalkboard. This guy comes from here, and this guy drops here, and all you got to do is sneak in the alley. It's always easy to do that. But if Dawson in this offense can create some easy looks where you're saying, okay, we've done a good job of getting away from wherever the pressure is going, and we've done a good job of whenever they are bringing pressure that we cannot beat with the run, we beat it with RPOs or we beat it with the quick passing game, that can put you in a very good position. Indiana plays more zone than almost any team in the nation, and that, to me, if you're playing a lot of zone and teams are hitting you with the quick game and they're getting blockers out in front of very good athletes, that could be problematic. That could be very problematic. So Indiana is a juggernaut. They are a team that does 1,000,001 things well. You have to look very hard to find the areas where they are weak. However, there are areas that are exploitable if you know them. There are areas that, obviously, Dawson and company get paid a lot more than you and me to do this game. Cristobal and company get paid a lot more than you and me to do this.
A few more dollars, yeah.
Just a couple, just a couple hundreds here and there. What's the difference? But this is a game where Miami will have to tactically excel at a high level, because to me, this is not just about bludgeoning Indiana to death. This is about working and doing your game plan to an extremely high level. And defensively, Fernando Mendoza has shown if you can pressure him, he'll get those feet get a little bit happy. And I ain't talking about the movie with the dancing penguins. He starts to look around and all of a sudden he gets a little jittery. So ultimately, I think that the key to this game for Miami is just be Miami. Be who you have been all season long, especially in the playoffs. I mean, we cannot talk about how much it feels like Miami's taking the super soldier serum because they didn't turn into a different team, but everything that they were during the regular season is just enhanced, just brought out to the nth degree.
Great point. Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about what Miami's defense has to do. And you previewed it a little bit. Like you're going up against the Heisman Trophy winner. He's very good, but he's not perfect. The question is, can Miami exploit? You want to keep it locked right here. Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, and we're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. And yeah, folks, we have a big game coming up. The College Football Playoff Championship game is here on Monday, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day throughout these playoffs. Because right now, on this College Football Playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. If you're taking a shot on Miami as the underdog, or if you're riding with the favorite, if you think Indiana's going to take care of business and control the matchup, or if you want to look at players, you want to build a parlay around the players and moments you think decide the game. If you think Malachi Toney, Mark Fletcher, Carson Beck are going to decide the game, build parlays around them, and then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff boosts every game day. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. And folks, if you're an everydayer, make sure you check out the Everydayer Club. Click the link in the show notes below or go to lockedonacc.supercast.com and you can get ad-free versions of these episodes. You get exclusive Discord access, more benefits like a discount on the Locked On merchandise store. Check out lockedonacc.supercast.com. Kenton, I thought you hit on something that for Miami's defense, it must happen, and it's something Miami's done to virtually every other team that they've faced this year, and that's affect the opposing quarterback, make him uncomfortable at the very least, or put him on the ground. Miami would not be at this point without the heroics of Akheem Mesidor and Rueben Bane. Like they have in many ways been big drivers, that pass rush to get Miami where they are today. And they're going to need to see this one out. Like Miami's not going to win this game if they're not affecting Fernando Mendoza. Like you talked about the happy feet, which is I know something that Indiana has really worked on with him. It was more prevalent when he was at Cal as like one of his, Achilles heels or whatever. It's obviously something that they have worked on. He has better protection at IU than he had at Cal. But a lot of teams have had really good statistical pass protection until they have faced Miami. So something about Mendoza, he holds on to the football for over 3 seconds on average. So that either has to change for this game or that offensive line has to play the game of their life, Kenton, because something's got to give there. If Mendoza's holding it for 3 seconds and Bane and Mesidor are doing what they do, he's not going to be in rhythm.
Let me tell you something, okay? Queen and David Bowie in 1981 came up with a song called Under Pressure. And that's what Fernando Mendoza needs to be all night long. If one alum of, Columbus High School down there in Florida?
Yeah,
Or is it Columbus?
Columbus.
If one Miami Columbus alum in Cristobal wants to be a fellow alum in Fernando Mendoza, the reality is this, right? This thing is all about, can you generate pressure? Can you generate pressure? There's a reason that their offensive line won player of the game a few games back in terms of Indiana. Those guys, again, undersized, but they move and groove, okay? They do what they're supposed to do. They're technically sound. And here's the thing. If you're going to beat Indiana's offensive line, you have to beat their offensive line. What do I mean by that? They're very cohesive. They pick up pressure extremely well in terms of blitzes, and there's rarely a missed assignment. In football, a majority of it is alignment and assignment. Indiana has that mastered at a level that I have not seen. And as much as people say, well, what makes them different? If you watch most offensive lines, you see a play or two where you're like, oh, that guy just missed an assignment. Perfect example, watching Ole Miss and Miami. I believe the play that number one from Ole Miss got a sack, former Florida defensive end, Prince Humanley. He got a sack.
Yes.
because there was a missed assignment on a switch on a stunt that they ran in which nobody went with you, man. It wasn't that he worked some fantastic move or he just glitched like a Miles Garrett or something where it's like, hey, if a guy's that quick, you throw up your hands and let it go. It was a situation where two guys who were supposed to be communicating and switching did not do so effectively. You very, very, very rarely see that from Indiana. Now, here's the other part of this. You know what Indiana has not seen? A Rueben Bane. You know what Indiana has not seen? An Akheem Mesidor. They have not seen the likes of that type of pass rush all year. But when I talk about Indiana and what they do, you have to, one for one, man for man, you got to win those one-on-one battles. You have to win those one-on-one battles. To me, that is the biggest defensive key for Miami, because here's the deal. If you can get home with 4, you can leave 7 in coverage. If you can leave 7 in coverage, you can create those natural brackets for Surratt and company where it's like, hey, if Mendoza's going to do this, he's going to have to make tight throws into tight windows under duress. And I don't care who you are, right? There's speculation on whether or not who thinks Mendoza's what or whatever the case may be. Was he the best Heisman, the worst Heisman? I don't care about none of that. I don't care if you got the best quarterback there ever was to live. If you ask me which one of these as a defensive coordinator would I want him throwing under? A clean pocket with plenty of time or under duress, which one? It's easy. It's easy. I want to see multiple guys getting home, winning those one-on-one battles, because ultimately, if you combine that with the not turning the ball over, not putting their offense in great positions, that's what will get you a national championship. That's what will have everybody saying, because I'm going to tell you something. To me, the U ain't back. The U ain't back. And that's a sign of respect for Miami. The same way I tell people Texas ain't back till they win a national championship. That's a sign of respect. If you winning 10 games a year, if Virginia Tech had the type of season Miami's having right now, Virginia Tech is back. This is what we saw from the best Virginia Tech team we ever saw. The best Miami team we ever saw, if you threw a rock in their huddle, statistically speaking, you were more likely to hit a future All-Pro than you were to hit a guy that was not going to start in the league for multiple years. That is the quality of the U, and that manifests itself through national championships. So ultimately, if Bane and Mesidor get it done, they prove in this game that the U is officially back.
And you see the stats in the playoffs on Bane and Mesidor. Rueben Bane has put on 21 quarterback pressures in 3 games, 19 from Mesidor. Mesidor's pass rushing grade is slightly even higher than Bane's at 86.2 on Pro Football Focus. Bane with an 85.3, and Mesidor's pass rush win rate is 27% to Bane's 24. So that's the group that is going to try to provide that duress onto Fernando Mendoza. And Kenton, when you and by the way, I agree with you. I've people have tried to make me waver on this, but I've said that I'll say the U is boo. I'll say the B word when they win their 6th national championship, whether that's 5 days from now or 50 years from now. That's when the U is going to be back for me. And you talk about perhaps, and there have been some really good ones, but 2001 Miami team as possibly Miami's best championship team ever. Kenton, they scored so many points just on defense and special teams that if their offense didn't score a single point that year, they would have been 8-4. Just based on the points scored by their defense and special teams that year. That's how good that team was.
My God, on today. That's what we love. That's what I'm talking about in terms of the U is back. And that's why I say they can't be back without a championship, in my opinion, because there's a level of reverence and respect that you have to pay to what the U actually is, to what that brand actually is. And saying that a team is back prematurely, if I say you're back because you win 9 games, that means 9 games is your peak. If I say you're back because you went to a national championship, that means going to a national championship is your peak. If I say you're back because you won the big enchilada, now we're talking about, hey, no team can say, I've won something over that. Not in college. They don't play for Super Bowls in college, baby. This is it. This is all you're going to win at the FBS level.
So on late Monday night, is Miami going to announce to the world that they are back? We'll have predictions for you right here on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. For your next listen, make sure you check out our other shows. Kenton, Gibbs, and Grayson Boone host Locked On Wolfpack, covering all things NC State. I cover all things Miami on Locked On Canes. All right, KG, mentioned it a few times throughout the week. The betting line has grown a little bit. Indiana is now favored by 8.5 points on FanDuel. So Miami is a very big underdog in their home stadium. I know there's going to be a lot of Indiana fans in that stadium. They have shown us throughout these playoffs they travel exceptionally well, but it's still for Miami. They get to practice on their own practice field. They get to sleep in their own beds. So they get to treat it like a regular game week, if that's even possible, where Indiana gets all the razzle-dazzle that comes with it. But what say you, Kenton? What's your ultimate prediction for how this game is going to play out on Monday night?
You know, I've said this and I stand on this. There has not been, in my opinion, a pair of edge rushers in recent history in college football doing what these two are doing at this level for Miami for this sustained of a time, especially in terms of big games, playoff games, games with these types of implications. We have not seen that. We have not seen a running back elevate his level over regular season the way that we have with Mark Fletcher and what he's done in these playoffs in quite some time. We have not seen a defense as a whole, because let's be honest, yes, the pass rush has been immaculate, but even the second and third levels, I mean, my God, it is just a bowling ball of butcher. It's a house of knives. And Miami, this is a home game. Let's be honest. It doesn't matter how well Indiana travels, because at some point in time, you got to leave the confines of that hotel. And you got to look around and say, I guess everything is Miami themed around here. I guess Miami football is the only team that's worth a darn around here right now, except the Florida Panthers. We know we love hockey here too. They're right. The only team that's worth a darn right now. But with all that said,
I knew there was a but coming. Continue.
I think that this Indiana team, they're just a buzzsaw, man. And I think that I hope that Miami pulls off one of the greatest upsets of all time. I really do. But I really see a Heisman winning starting quarterback, a potential future Hall of Famer and a head coach who is leading a resurgence of a team that was dead in the water. And I know people are talking about Cristobal brought Miami back. Y'all don't understand. Miami being back is unlike Indiana ever being. Okay, it's a whole different ball game there. I think that this is Indiana's time. I think this is Indiana's year. I think that they get it done. I think this game is a decently scoring game. I think that there's going to be a lot of scoring in this one, but I think that Indiana wins and covers because I think that ultimately they're able to stop the run well enough to force Carson Beck to have to throw the ball a lot, which I don't think Miami wants to do. And so I see Indiana winning this one 31-21.
That buzzsaw is about to meet titanium. They are about to meet their match. I'm going Miami, and obviously, and listen, when I say this, Miami has to play their best football. I think it's also true for Indiana. I mean, people act like Indiana can walk in there and make mistakes and win this game. Now, Indiana has not made mistakes throughout the season. They've only turned the football over 8 times all year long. But to me, they've not seen a defensive front as disruptive as Miami's. Nobody has until you've gone head-to-head with these guys. And I appreciate how efficient Carson Beck has been in the playoffs. In his past 7 games, all wins, he's thrown 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. I think Miami is going to do what's necessary. And when they play national championship games in their home stadium, it tends to go Miami's way. They've won 3 of their 5 national titles have been clinched at home. I think the magical run for Indiana comes to an end, and the Cinderella run for Miami, a team that a lot of people thought shouldn't even be in the playoff, is going to continue. I've got Miami 23-20, and I predict the only thing I'm really confident in, Kenton, is I'm going to be breathing into a paper bag during the fourth quarter, as I've been for most of these playoffs. I can tell you that. I think it's going to be a close one. I've got Miami edging it out.
I'm gonna tell you this. I don't want people to take my prediction as what I hope happens. If Ken got his wish out of this thing, Miami rolls, okay? And everybody sits up here and says, Well, now what the hell is Miami got going on? Well, maybe Indiana was cheating and Mario put everything on paper and not the cloud. Maybe something happened here because Miami is dominating in a way. Like I said, my only wish for the Miami at the start of playoffs was to do something that would let Rueben Bane fall to the Lions. That dream is gone. It's over. It's done. It's not happening. So at this point in time, I want Miami to win by 50. But I just see this is an Indiana team that they have holes, but those holes are so small. It just feels like you got to hit a perfect trick shot like your bullseye or something while you're leaning out the whip. It's a little tough. It's a little tough for me. But ultimately, I do think this will be a really good game. I think, even though I have Indiana winning by 10, I don't think it's a 10 where it's like they dominate all the way throughout and Miami scores late to bring it close. I think it's more so it was a 3-point game or something like that until late there's a turnover that turns the tide of this thing, and they go ahead and seal it with a late touchdown. But I think this will be a great game on Monday.
It's going down Monday night, 7:30 p.m., which probably means around 7:50. You're going to see the Miami Hurricanes and Indiana Hoosiers. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. Make sure you follow him at TGIF_Kenton. Follow me at Alex Donno and on Locked On Canes. And we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome #1 Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.